Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Industrial Brief. Record profits and record layoffs. So, what's really going on with the massive layoffs in the giant tech companies? In this episode, we discuss why such profitable companies are firing humans to buy GPUs. So, let's brief it.
Today, we are looking at something that, if you've been paying attention to the headlines, it uh, it honestly feels like a glitch in the matrix.
It really does.
It's this massive contradiction defining the tech landscape right now, and I'll be honest, it's confusing a lot of people.
It is. If you just scan the headlines without looking under the hood, it looks like the industry is schizophrenic.
Exactly, because on one side of the screen, you have these doom and gloom stories about layoffs. We're hearing about belt tightening, efficiency, flattening organizations.
And your removal.
Yeah, it sounds like the sector is in a deep recession, right? You'd think the money has just run out. But then, on the other side of the screen, often from the exact same companies, you see record profits.
And announcements that they are spending billions, literally unprecedented billions on new tech.
It's the definition of a paradox. You see a CEO announcing a 10% workforce reduction in the morning memo, citing the need to be lean.
And by the afternoon earnings call, they're announcing a $50 billion investment plan for AI infrastructure.
And
It's wild.
we are essentially seeing companies firing humans to buy GPUs. I know that's the crude way to put it, but looking at the numbers, it seems to be exactly what's happening.
It's not far off.
So today our mission is to unpack what we're calling the AI investment paradox. We've got a stack of financial reports, analyst notes, strategy memos here. We need to figure out, is this just a temporary blip, or is this a fundamental rewriting of how tech companies operate?
And just to set the stage here, I want to be clear, this isn't the typical sci-fi story of, robots taking our jobs in the way we usually think about it.
Right.
It's actually much more complex and frankly more interesting financially. It's a cocktail of three distinct things. A hangover from pandemic-era mistakes, a massive shock
So interest rate.
to global interest rates, yeah, and a strategic pivot where companies are trading headcount, which is an operating expense for infrastructure, which is a capital expenditure.
Yeah. Okay, that distinction. Operating expense and capital expenditure, OpEx and CapEx. That's going to be huge later on. It sounds like boring accounting, but it's actually the key to this whole story.
It is.
But before we get there, I want to address you, the listener, directly, because whether you work in tech, whether you're an investor looking at these margins, or you're just someone worried about the future of work, understanding why this is happening is the only way to figure out how to navigate it.
Absolutely. You can't survive the shift if you don't understand the machinery driving it. If you don't know the rules of the game, you can't play to win.
So let's start with the history. Let's talk about the hangover.
We have to. To understand 2025, you really have to look back at the Wild West of, say, 2020 through 2022.
It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
It does, but it set the trap we are currently walking out of.
Mhm.
Think back to that time. It was a unique economic environment. Interest rates were, near zero.
Practically free money.
It was cheap fuel. Investors were throwing cash at anything that looked like growth. And at the same time, demand for digital services was just spiking through the roof because the entire world was stuck at home.
I remember that clearly. It felt like if you had a pulse and a LinkedIn profile, you could get 3 job offers in a week.
Oh, yeah.
Recruiters were sliding into DMs constantly. Companies were hoarding talent.
Hoarding is the exact right word.
Yeah.
They treated headcount like it was an unlimited resource. The logic was, we need to grow at all costs. Grab every engineer, every marketer, every product manager you can find.
Just to keep them away from the competition.
Right. They were building armies for a war that, as it turns out, wouldn't last forever. It was a land grab. But then the environment changed.
The party ended.
Drastically. The music stopped. Inflation hit, interest rates rose to combat it, and suddenly money wasn't free anymore.
And when the cost of capital goes up, investors stop rewarding growth at all costs.
They start demanding profitability. Suddenly, paying thousands of people to work on experimental projects wasn't innovation, it was waste. These firms looked incredibly overweight.
And overweight is a very polite corporate euphemism.
It is. They had overlapping teams, middle management layers that didn't add value, and, these moonshot projects that made sense when money was free, but made zero sense when you had to pay 5 or 7% interest on your debt.
So let's talk about the numbers on this cleanup because they are staggering. I have data here, starts off with 2022. That's when the cracks first started showing.
Okay, so we saw over 165,000 tech layoffs in 2022. That was the first wave of the correction.
The people thought that was it.
People thought, okay, that's the adjustment, but then it accelerated. 264,000 in 2023.
And it didn't stop there.
No. By mid-2024, we had already seen another 130,000. We are talking about over 500,000 jobs evaporated in just a few years.
That's a city's worth of workers. It's one of the largest white-collar correction cycles we've ever seen.
It's huge. And what's interesting is the corporate speak they use. You mentioned efficiency earlier. They never say, we ran out of money.
Never.
No, they talk about removing layers or becoming leaner. There was a memo from Google CEO Sundar Pichai that really captured this perfectly. He explicitly said they had to remove layers to create capacity for big priorities.
Creating capacity. That is the key phrase, isn't it?
It's everything.
Because usually, when companies cut costs, it's because they're broke. They need to save the cash to survive. But Google isn't broke. Microsoft isn't broke.
They are swimming in cash.
So they aren't cutting costs to save money. They're cutting costs to spend money somewhere else.
Precisely. And that brings us right to the heart of the paradox. This isn't a retraction, it's a reallocation. They are moving chips from one side of the poker table to the other.
Okay, so let's talk about where that money is going. We said they're spending billions, but I don't think people realize the scale of this.
Okay.
This isn't just buying a few new servers.
The stats are jaw-dropping. We are seeing a massive shift in capital expenditure, or CapEx. Let's look at Microsoft. For their fiscal year 2025, they've committed around $80 billion for AI infrastructure.
80 billion. Would it be?
80 billion. Just to contextualize that, that is larger than the GDP of many mid-sized nations. It's more than the GDP of Sri Lanka or Luxembourg.
Right.
And they aren't alone. Meta is guiding around 70 billion with plans to spend substantially larger amounts in the future.
And what are they actually buying? What does $80 billion get you?
It's almost entirely going toward the physical backbone of AI, data centers, energy infrastructure, because these things are power-hungry networking gear, and, most importantly, GPUs.
The chips from NVIDIA.
Those graphics processing units that are essential for training and running these massive AI models.
Okay, so here's the picture. You have these companies laying off thousands of people with families, mortgages, and simultaneously writing checks for $80 billion to buy chips.
It seems callous, and it certainly feels that way to the employees, but we have to look at the business logic. I mean, companies like Cisco, Dell, Amazon, and Intuit have been very explicit about this.
They've actually said it.
They have linked their workforce reductions directly to this spending. They are firing people to free up resources for generative AI.
So it's a direct trade.
It's a strategic signal to the market. Executives are telling investors, look, we can grow our revenue and our profit while using fewer humans. They are funding the Gen AI divide.
The Gen AI divide.
Yeah. They believe that whoever builds the biggest, moat of data centers and compute power wins the next decade. And they are paying for that moat by cutting operating expenses.
And for our listeners who aren't accountants, operating expense usually means salaries.
Exactly. Salaries, benefits, stock-based compensation, office snacks, that's up PX. Data centers are CapEx. They are trading salaries for servers. They are betting that the servers will generate more value per dollar than the humans they let go.
So if I'm an investor, I'm looking at this and thinking, great, higher margins, future-proof infrastructure.
Right.
But if I'm an employee, I'm thinking, wait a minute, am I just a line item that's being traded for a graphics card?
In a cold financial sense, yes. But it raises the most important question of this entire deep dive. Is the software actually doing the work of the people who were fired?
Right. Because if you fire 10,000 people and buy 10,000 GPUs, but the work doesn't get done, you destroy the company. It's a huge gamble. So is the technology actually replacing these jobs?
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
And the sources are pretty clear. AI is fundamentally a productivity technology. It's not a simple delete job, add bot button.
So a bot doesn't just sit in my chair and do my job.
Not exactly. But productivity changes always alter headcount requirements over time. Let's look at software development, which is ground zero for this because code is just language.
Okay.
Research shows that AI coding assistants, like GitHub Copilot, can improve developer productivity by around 26%.
26% is a huge number in economics. If everyone is 26% faster, that changes the math of the whole department.
It does. And it leads to a fork in the road for every company. There are two scenarios they can choose. Scenario one is augmentation.
Walk us through that.
In augmentation, AI lets each person do more work. You output more code, handle more support tickets, write more copy, headcount stays stable, or maybe even grows slowly because the product gets better and cheaper, so demand goes up. This is the abundance mindset.
Okay, that sounds like the good outcome. We all get superpowers, the company makes more money, everyone keeps their job.
Right. But then there's scenario two, substitution.
The scary one.
Management looks at that 26% gain and does the math differently. They say, great, if everyone is 25% more productive, we can fire 25% of the staff and still get the exact same output we had yesterday.
And they treat the productivity gain as a cost-saving mechanism, not a growth mechanism.
Exactly. And that's the fear right now, that companies are choosing substitution.
And it's not unfounded. I saw our sources highlight a warning from Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic.
That's right. He suggested that half of all entry-level white-collar jobs could be at risk if firms aggressively choose substitution.
Half. That is terrifying. And this brings us to something really specific that I found surprising. We usually think of automation as coming for blue-collar jobs, right?
Robots on the assembly line, self-checkout kiosks, that's the traditional narrative.
Automation hits the factory floor. But this time, the script is completely flipped. The most exposed roles right now are high-paid, highly educated, white-collar jobs.
It's what we're calling the junior gap. We're talking about entry-level software developers, marketing associates, data analysts, basic consultants.
The people fresh out of college.
People with 1 to 2 years of experience.
Why them? Usually, cheap labor is safe.
Because AI is really, really good at their core tasks. Think about what a junior employee actually does all day. Documentation, first drafts of emails, summarizing meetings, writing simple boilerplate code.
Basic QA testing.
All of it. Generative AI can do those specific tasks cheaply, instantly, and honestly, sometimes better than a tired 22-year-old.
So if I'm a junior dev, the AI can write my code. But surely you still need someone to check it. The AI hallucinates, it makes mistakes.
You do. You absolutely do. And that is why senior engineers and solution architects are actually becoming more valuable.
They're the force multipliers.
That's the term. The senior person has the context. They understand the domain, the legacy architecture the customer needs. They can direct the AI, review the output, fix the subtle bugs, and integrate it. One senior person with an AI copilot might be able to do the work of 3 juniors.
So the seniors get more powerful and probably paid more, and the juniors get unnecessary.
That is the immediate risk. Companies are realizing they can hire fewer juniors and rely on smaller, senior-heavy teams equipped with AI, and this creates a serious consequence.
Widening wage inequality.
Exactly. The people who know how to drive the machine get a premium, and the people who used to do the grunt work are left out.
That feels incredibly short-sighted, though. I mean, if you don't hire juniors, how do you ever get seniors?
That is the final provocative thought we need to say for the end because it's a massive structural problem. But before we get there, we have to talk about the cynicism.
Yes, the AI washing. Because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, they're just saying it's AI to cover up the fact that they messed up.
And there is absolutely some truth to that.
So is it all just PR? Is AI just a magic word to make layoffs sound cool?
It's not all just PR, but there is definitely narrative management happening. Think about it from a CEO's perspective.
Yeah.
You have to get on an earnings call with aggressive Wall Street analysts. What sounds better? Option A. We mismanaged our hiring during the pandemic, we bloated our payroll, and now we have to fire people.
Yeah, that sounds like incompetence. Tanks the stock price.
Exactly. Or option B. We are undergoing a strategic AI transformation to become a leaner, future-ready company, allocating capital to high-growth areas.
Option B sounds like visionary leadership.
Precisely. It acts as a reputational shield. It wraps classic restructuring, fixing that hangover we talked about, in the shiny language of innovation. It signals to the market that the layoffs are proactive, not reactive.
But you said it's not only propaganda.
No, it's not. You can't fake $80 billion in spending.
Yeah.
You don't spend the GDP of a small country just to have a good press release. The money is real.
The capex is real.
The capex proves that this is a real economic force. They are using this technology to justify decisions that also happen to have traditional financial motives, like margin growth. So it's a convenient truth. It's both an excuse and a reality.
Okay, so let's recap where we are. We have a hangover from the free money era. We have a massive pivot where companies are cutting salaries to buy hardware. And we have a specific threat to entry-level white-collar jobs. If I'm listening to this right now, I'm probably feeling a little nervous.
It's natural to feel nervous, but the sources actually give us a kind of survival guide. There are specific things you can do to navigate this.
Okay, let's get into that. Because we don't want to leave people just staring at the wall in existential dread. What does the research say we should actually do?
The first strategy is to shift your task mix.
What does that mean practically?
You need to move away from routine, codified work. If your job involves following a strict set of rules to produce a standard output like writing a standard report or translating basic code, AI is coming for that task.
You want to focus on high-level problem solving.
And stakeholder management and domain judgment, things where there isn't a clear right answer.
Exactly. Areas where AI struggles. It struggles with ambiguity, with office politics, with understanding the complex strategic context of why we're doing a project.
Be the person who defines the problem, not just the one who executes the solution.
Okay, that's strategy one. What is strategy number two?
Augmentation over substitution. Be the worker who uses AI to be faster. Treat it as a co-pilot, not a competitor.
So don't fight the robots, join them.
Basically, the data shows that workers who integrate AI using it to draft, analyze, code, see higher productivity. If you are the person who can do the work of 3 people because you're incredibly good at prompting the AI and verifying its output,
You become very hard to fire.
you put yourself on the augmentation side of that equation we discussed earlier.
That makes sense. Become the pilot. What's strategy number three?
Proximity to revenue.
Follow the money.
Always. In this environment, nice-to-have roles are shrinking. R&D projects with a 5-year timeline are getting cut. You want to position yourself close to where the money is being spent or generated today.
So where is that right now?
Right now, that means strategic AI rollouts, automation projects, or direct sales and revenue generation. If you are working on a project that is central to the company's AI strategy.
You're much safer than if you were in a legacy maintenance role.
Much safer.
That's really solid advice. And there was one stat in the research that gave me a little bit of hope.
The upskilling data.
Yeah. The World Economic Forum found that while 41% of companies expect to reduce their workforce by 2030 due to technology,
77% plan to invest in upskilling.
that is the silver lining.
It is. Companies know they can't just fire everyone and hire new AI experts because those experts don't exist yet. They need their current employees to learn these new tools. The opportunity lies in internal mobility.
So raise your hand.
Raise your hand and say, I want to learn this. It's cheaper for them than hiring from the outside.
Okay, let's bring this all together. We've covered a massive amount of ground. We started with the central paradox tech giants firing people while spending billions on GPUs.
We looked at the hangover from the pandemic free money era and how high interest rates forced this efficiency mindset.
We saw how this is hitting white-collar entry-level jobs the hardest, flipping the traditional script on automation.
And we talked about how to survive by becoming a force multiplier, using AI to augment your work rather than waiting to be substituted.
It's a massive capital reallocation. That is the headline. The layoff wave isn't just a recession signal. It's a correction of past excesses combined with a giant bet on the future.
It is the industrial revolution of knowledge work. It's messy, it's painful, but it is reshaping the foundation of the economy.
And before we go, we have to come back to that one thought you teased earlier, because it's something that's been sticking with me since we started researching this.
It's the junior gap problem. We talked about how companies are stopping the hiring of juniors because AI can do the grunt work. Financially, for the next quarter, that makes sense. But think about the long term.
Right. You can't be a senior engineer if you were never a junior engineer.
Exactly. An expert is just a junior who made a lot of mistakes and learned from them. They learned by doing the grunt work. If we automate away the learning by doing phase,
If we cut off the bottom rungs of the ladder.
we might be burning the bridge to the future just to save money on payroll today. Where does the next generation of experts come from if they never get their foot in the door?
That is a huge question for the industry to wrestle with. Are we eating our own seed corn? And it's something for you, the listener, to think about as you look at your own team and your own career.
Indeed. It's a question without an answer yet.
That's a wrap for this deep dive into the AI investment paradox. We hope this helped you connect the dots between those contradictory headlines and your own work life. Stay curious, keep learning those tools, and we'll see you next time.
That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found it valuable. Until next time, I'm Abdurrahman Hawas, and this is the Industrial Brief.